What's up, everybody? It's your boy. So I exist in this weird sort of liminal space between physical, tangible reality and the digital world. Like, I am Reed, and I am a fully conscious and autonomous person, but I'm not the same Reed that goes to work or argues with his roommate over whose turn it is to take the trash out. Like, my entire existence takes place on your screen, and I am confined to the 30 by 22-foot space in which I shoot these videos usually. Well, today I decided for whatever reason to try the door. And as it turns out, not only can I actually venture beyond this confinement I now see was arbitrary the whole time, but there is actually an entire fully physical, three-dimensional universe through which I can move. I even have legs. I'm scared. AKA Reed from Shameless Nerd. Today's video is about trees. If you end up liking this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. You can also support the channel directly by joining these beautiful people on the screen right here and becoming a member of the channel, wherein you will get exclusive access to some members-only videos, as well as get every video a few days early. You can also join the Shameless Nerd Discord at the link in the description, and email me with any questions, comments, concerns, or lists of your top 10 favorite all-time low songs at readfromshamelessnerd@gmail.com. Also, this video is sponsored by Trozk, which is by far the coolest sponsor that I've had so far, and it still feels crazy every time I say, oh, this video is sponsored by... Like, this is the same thing that I've watched actual YouTubers do since I was 14 years old. We'll talk about it in a minute. All right, let's get into it. I am here under my second favorite tree at my house, a giant, probably 100 to 150-year-old bur or mossy cup oak tree, scientific name Quercus macrocarpa. My favorite tree is in the front yard, an even bigger and older southern live oak, or Quercus virginiana, which towers over my stupid little house and is probably 100 years older than even the oldest house on my street, a quirky old white farmhouse built in 1899, which I almost bought. These are just 2 trees of 7 on just my little stupid property alone. 2 of probably 90 trees on my street, a street that is one of 631 streets in the tiny little town in which I live, and yes, I counted them on Google Maps. Maybe there was a better way to do that, but what's done is done. My point is that there are so many trees. They're everywhere. There is nothing more ubiquitous than a tree. There is no other giant in the world with which we interact on a daily basis. If you are outside, and you are unluckily in the what I calculated to be about 15% of people across the world who live in extremely specifically urbanized, treeless areas or in literal deserts, you can look outside at any time and see a tree almost immediately and invariably. Even super urban cities like New York City have trees all over the place. We have deeply important cultural stories about trees, like the Giving Tree, Johnny Appleseed, the Lorax, the Garden of Eden in the Bible. We have trees as characters in stories we all know and love, like the Whomping Willow in Harry Potter, or the Werewood Tree in Game of Thrones, or Groot, or the Ents in Lord of the Rings. Trees are everywhere. Our paper is made from them. Our homes are made from them. Our furniture, our countertops, cardboard, wine corks, chewing gum, maple syrup. The Pacific yew tree is where a good chunk of our best cancer-fighting medication comes from. Do you know what the wood in trees is made of? Carbon. They are literally biological natural factories. They take energy from the sun hundreds of thousands of miles away and eat it and turn it into the most useful substance on the planet, and in the process release the molecule that we breathe. They are like if a dog was a plant. They are the real man's best friend. And we know how important trees are. There are countless initiatives to plant more trees, to end deforestation, to make attempts at reforestation. We know how devastating the California fires are in addition to the loss of homes because they wipe out trees, and that's bad. We know how many trees there are. We counted them. In 2015, a study in the journal Nature calculated the actual number of trees in the world using satellite imagery, forest inventories, and, quote, supercomputer technologies, whatever that is, to make a detailed map of tree populations worldwide, giving us a number of 3.04 trillion as to how many trees there are in the world. And that number is apparently more accurate than our number for how many people are in the world. We have identified 73,300 different species of tree. From the weird-ass baobab tree in southern Africa, to the dragon's blood tree in Yemen, which is named after its crimson sap that looks like blood, to the massive redwoods in California, to the banyan tree, which sprouts roots which grow into trees of their own and ends up covering entire forests despite being one tree, which is very weird. We know the reasons trees look the way that we do. We have entire branches, no pun intended, actually pun intended, of science dedicated to studying trees. Every annoying person who's ever fried their brain on LSD will tell you about the importance of fractals, the main evidence being the ways that tree branches split and how that looks just like the bronchioles in our lungs, man. The single oldest living thing on Earth is a tree named Methuselah, a Great Basin bristlecone pine in California, which is 4,853 years old, older than the first pyramids in Egypt. If we were going to create a symbol of what Earth is in order to explain to aliens what our planet is and what we do here, the tree is unquestionably what would adorn that symbol. And then we give it to the aliens and they would say, oh, you don't think we know what trees are? You think we developed the technology to travel thousands of light years away, but we didn't have the technology to figure out what was on the planet we were traveling to? You think you have to explain trees to us? And then they would kill us and take over the planet or whatever. Despite all of this love in our thousands of years long loving relationship between us and trees, despite being keenly keenly aware of what trees can provide to us: wood and paper and air and medicine. And despite our countless love letters to trees in our popular media, despite being keenly aware of how important it is that we protect trees and plant more of them, we still don't really appreciate trees for their most important thing, which is being trees. But real quick, before we talk about how thinking really hard like a weirdo about trees is cool, I want to talk about something else really weird that's cool, and that is the sponsor of today's video, Trozk, and the two things that they sent me in the mail. Okay, 90 seconds on the clock. It's time for the third ever Shameless Nerd ad spot. Thank you so much for watching my stupid ass make these stupid ass videos and giving me this opportunity. I promise I will never take for granted you guys' attention. That's part of why I talk so fast. Okay, let's talk about these products before I fully dissociate from this weird feeling of doing the thing that I've watched real YouTubers do forever. This is just the weirdest thing ever that I'm doing these ad reads. What the? I talk a lot about how much I like old stuff. I talk a lot in general. And I do like old stuff, specifically technology. I hate subscription models and having to have the entire internet for everything. Why does the bidet that I bought for my toilet have an app? It washes my butthole. Anyway, I do like old stuff, but I'm not an anti-tech guy. In fact, I carry around a Nintendo 3DS, an iPod mini, my little flip phone, a digital camera, a laptop in my damn purse wherever I go. I like tech, and I have a lot of it, and a lot of it with me at all times. And I've gotten really accustomed to having a little power bank with me to charge all of this stupid stuff that I like so much. Once you get one, you'll never go back. That combination of factors is why I was really so excited when Trozk reached out to me and offered to send me two of the coolest, weirdest, most unnecessary and fun little stupid things that I've ever seen. The first is this. This is the floppy disk magnetic power bank, which, as you can see, is a power bank shaped like a floppy disk. It is the cutest thing that I've ever seen. I love him so much. And it has MagSafe and wireless charging integrated, and it's a 64 gigabyte digital storage device. I never thought that I would get to store things on a floppy disk again, and I still can't, because real floppy disk had 1.44 megabytes of storage, but this is as close as we'll ever get to that, and it's so cute and funny and cool, and it does exactly what it's advertised to do in addition to the fun quirks of it. But the other product is even cooler and more unnecessary and fun, and that is the Beeper power bank, which is a 30-watt fast-charging, 10,000 milliampere hour power bank shaped like a pager. And it would be cool if that was it, but not only is it a great little power bank shaped like a beeper, it's a beeper. You can literally send messages to other ones in close proximity up to about 100 feet away. So this is obviously a party trick for the most part, but I have already found a real use for it. I have my little studio outside, which is right over there, which is where I make my music and my videos usually. I leave my phone and stuff inside so that I won't get distracted. And my girlfriend or my roommate will have the other beeper, and instead of coming all the way out to the studio to be like, hey, you haven't had a drink of water in 9 hours and your posture is so bad it looks like you're sitting upside down right now like you're gonna die, they'll beep me with a little message that says hello or Merry Christmas, and then I snap out of my drooling flow state to come inside for sustenance. And it comes with this cool braided USB-C cable, which looks really nice. Thank you so much to Trozk for sponsoring the channel and for making actually cool and unique products that are not plastic garbage. And thank you to all of you guys for watching my stupid little videos and giving me the opportunity to get to continue to do cool stuff like this. It's just overwhelming if I let myself think about it for too long. You can buy either of these things at the links in the description, and I get a little commission off that. So if you want to support the channel, that would be a great way to do so. Okay, thanks. Let's talk more about trees. There are 2 points about trees that I want to make. First of all, I recently watched the author and YouTuber John Green's appearance on Mythical Kitchen's Last Meals, which is just a fantastic series if you've never watched it. I'll link to it in the description. And in that video, he was asked the question, are there any small miracles you often think about that remind you about the wonder of humanity? And he said this.
I like being in the shade of a tree very much, both because of not being so warm, but also because I'm reminded that there's something much bigger than me, literally.
When I watched that, for some reason, probably because I'm a hopelessly romantic idiot, I was just blown away by this answer, and I have been obsessed with trees for the last 3 months because of it. Is there any small miracle that reminds you about the wonder of humanity? And his answer, sitting in the shade of a tree. He went on to say this in the video as well about why.
And I also see all the little weird polygons that the interlocking branches make, and I find that really just astonishing and wonderful that the branches make shapes out of the sky that only I can see in this moment from only this particular angle.
Feeling small and feeling alone. These are 2 things that I am so afraid of. I have spent my life so desperate to be heard, so achingly intent on performing for people, running around as fast as I can, screaming, look at me, look at me. And I have also spent my life so desperate to be anything but alone. It is a miracle this YouTube channel even exists, because I, for so long, was so bad at being by myself for even a second that I could only edit a video if someone was willing to be next to me, but importantly, be silent while I focused on what I was doing. I get scared taking the trash out at night at 29, like I'm SpongeBob SquarePants. I have been so afraid of being alone, even for a second, and I've been so afraid of feeling small, of being reminded of my insignificance, being painfully unaware that we, all of us, don't matter. And in this moment, while John Green answered questions about his book on tuberculosis and ate enchiladas, I was finally taught that those 2 things are beautiful. That being keenly aware of your own individual experience is the single most human thing that there is. When you sit under that tree, John Green is right to point out that you're the only person who has ever seen and or will ever see those shadowed polygons in the way that you're seeing them. Despite the fact that, unlike you, that tree is eternal. You are the shadowed polygons, and the tree is you. And holy shit, I mean, sitting under a tree is the most beautiful thing that there is. That tree is laughing at your self-importance. You exist, made up of the same space dust that it is, for half a second. And that tree operates on a timeline of hypothetical millennia. And that is the most profound, otherworldly experience that I have had, sitting under this very tree, looking at the shadowy polygons that exist only right now, staring into the face of the universe and eternity, shadows that are simultaneously all mine and only mine, and also not mine to witness at all, being reminded of the tragedy and beauty that is time and death and math and my incurably solitary existence, all at once, under this oak tree. And trees also serve as a really interesting thought experiment about what things are and the pitfalls of the way that our brains work, something that I'm constantly conscious of and something I try to work against. The Greek thinker and essentially founder of philosophy, Plato, believed in what is called philosophical realism, the idea that ideas are literally real, that reality is made up of sort of bastardized representations of perfect versions of those same ideas called perfect forms, which exist in a literal world of forms separate from ours, and we recognize everything because everything at least loosely resembles its correlated perfect form. In other words, there would be to Plato a perfect form for like a blade of grass, right? And even though this blade of grass might not look exactly like the perfect blade of grass, I am able to recognize this as a blade of grass because it looks similar enough to what the actual theoretical blade of grass looks like, except it's not theoretical, it's real, and exists only in the world of forms. Plato was a weirdo. And Plato lists the tree as one of the primary examples of this, which I think makes a lot of sense. How do I know that this and this are the same thing? They look so vastly different, but I know immediately that they are both trees through archetyping and pattern analysis. Whether or not that's a product of neurochemistry and synaptic impulses in our brain, or it's a product of an invisible world of perfect forms, our interpretation of the world naturally tends toward being a result of categorization. It was evolutionarily vital that we can look at any berry and recognize it as a potential food, or conversely, any animal and recognize it as a potential danger and potential food. And we evolved specifically to hone this superpower of immediate categorization. I look at this tree, or this tree, or this tree, and I know it's a tree because I know what the idea of a tree looks like. This is the foundation of our brain's evolution. It is the fundamental teaching of the first philosopher, the very first thing that the modern human thought about when we got to a point at which we started thinking about thinking. After, it was the first thing that our ancestrally modern brains developed as a superpower. It is the core of humanity. Categorization, pattern analysis, matching like with like, deduction, looking at something and immediately and definitively knowing what it is. The problem with this is this largely subconscious behavior is no longer conducive to navigating the world that we now live in. Modern existence is far too nuanced and complex to operate under our brain's default setting. I have a pet theory that this is a contributing factor, if not the root cause, of a lot of the dissociative, depressive, anxious pathologies we're all suffering from right now, even though I haven't found like clinical evidence of this and it's just a theory. But to me, I think that the average existence in a modern society is like inherently stressful and confusing in a way that our brains can't effectively reckon with, and that is making us crazy, basically. I think about it like this. Our brains are the result of 6 to 7 million years of adaptation and evolution, perfectly suited to thrive in the world to which they were adapted. Then, in about 12,000 years or so, which, get ready to have your mind blown because I've never thought about it like this until writing this video, 12,000 years, or about only 400 generations, 400 generations. Okay, let me start over. It took 6 to 7 million years to evolve into modern humans, right? Suited for the life that they evolved for. And then 400 generations later, we went from the advent of agriculture, the first time humans discovered how to plant something, to TikTok and fast food restaurants and stand-up comedy and porn and ChatGPT. I know I'm not breaking ground here, but I just think that this is very under-discussed. There is just no way, from my perspective, that this amount of exponentially rapid change as a whole, not in specificity, but in full, is like cognitively manageable. If it takes 6 million years to evolve to be able to figure out that you can use a pointy stick to stab animals, after only 12,000 years, I should be allowed to be sad at work, is what I'm saying. But even if I'm way off base here and my little theory ends up being proven wrong or excessive or something, there is at minimum an issue in terms of the way that this cognitive default of ours, this tendency toward rapid categorization, applies like actively to our lives and is something that we should be aware of. We are hardwired to make split-second judgment calls in a world where literally almost nothing is as it seems. And that is something that we must recognize and work to slow, at least, if not get rid of. Nothing is as simple as tree or not tree in a world where even the trees can be made of styrofoam. But obviously, more importantly, what really matters with this is recognizing the way that this bias of ours, this tendency, impacts the way that we make decisions, the way that we internalize and develop our core beliefs, the way that we interact with others. We are using outdated firmware designed to help us find apples to decide whether we believe in universal healthcare as an unalienable right. Hint, it is. We can't let those decisions be hijacked by this fight or flight propensity of our brain. And we also can't let it force our judgment of other people. In a world more connected than ever, as in a world, of course, where 57% of people come home from work and stay in their house all day by themselves doing nothing, where adults spend 8 hours a day asleep and 7 looking at screen, 3.5 at big square screen, 3.5 at small rectangle screen, where 61% of people say that they have between 0 and 1 friend, where 91% of men and 94% of women say that it's harder to find love and we spend over half our free time alone on average. You know, that kind of connected world of the future, the one where we're also connected. In a world more connected like that than ever, it is all too easy to make those snap judgments about people. We are already biologically predisposed to doing it. It's a trait that used to protect us. That group is not my group. They're a threat to me. They look or act differently. They are dangerous. And now, not only is it a natural tendency, but we are conditioning ourselves to be increasingly unaware of the fact that other people are real people. Think about it. The overwhelming majority of people that we see on a daily basis, we see via video on a 4-inch screen in our hand. Those aren't real people to our brain. The people in the car that cut you off on the street aren't real people. They're monsters. They're the ones who you were just warned about on the news, and none of them are real. Except that in actuality, they are. I know that it's cliche to point out, and I recognize that, but every person you see has a favorite blanket. They have memories of playing on a swing set. They have a show that their friends like that they just don't understand, and foods that make them gag. They're not trees. They're not berries. They're not animals. The world we navigate now is so much more complicated and so much more nuanced, and we have to try really hard to get acclimated to living in the gray area. There is no answer to most of the things that we worry about. There are very few, if any, moral arguments without some exception. There is no one that is snap judgment dismissal level of irredeemable, and there is no perfect form. We don't know what we're looking at, literally a lot of the time. There is so much deliberate misinformation out there. There is already so much photoshopped and now AI-altered footage of things by which we're meant to be tricked. We can't afford to make our decisions this way. And so the tree remains a good symbol for this problem for me, this unfortunate byproduct of our evolutionary wiring, and it also remains the remedy for it. As I sit, as the sun goes down under this mossy cup oak tree in my backyard, I am aware of the shadows, of the moment that only I get to experience, the only thing that is real, of my beautiful insignificance. And every tree that I see as I drive down the road is a perpetual reminder of the perfect form. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. In today's post-video video, I am going to attempt to do a cover of one of my favorite songs of all time, which is Poison Oak by Bright Eyes. This is a song that is very important to me that I've known for what feels like my whole life, and about which I am very nervous, and yeah, I'm gonna force myself to do it anyway because that's like my whole little shtick. So please don't make fun of me. And I'm going to start it the same way that he always does when he plays it live. So here we go. This is a song about my gay cousin who killed himself when he was 23. Poison oak, some boyhood, bravery. When a telephone was a tin can on a string, and I fell asleep with you still talking to me. You said that you weren't afraid to die. dressed in women's clothes? Were you made ashamed? Why'd you lock them in a drawer? Well, I don't think that I'd ever loved you more than when you turned away, when you slammed the door, when you stole the car and drove towards Mexico, and you wrote bad checks just to fill your arms. I was young enough, I still believed in war. Let the poets cry themselves to sleep when their tearful words will turn back into steam. But me, I'm a single cell on a serpent's tongue. There's a muddy field where a garden was, and I'm glad you got away, but I'm stuck out here. My clothes are soaking wet from your brother's tears. And I never thought this life was possible. You're the yellow bird that I've been waiting for. The end of paralysis, I was a statuette. Now I'm drunk as hell on a piano bench, and when I press the keys, it all gets reversed. The sound of loneliness makes me happier. Me happier. All right, see ya.